Many people have different purpose of. Many people believe they have a different purpose of existence in this life, based on their, depending on the upbringing and their religious beliefs. And this purpose may be similar or may vary among different societies. Can you review the current day beliefs? Current day beliefs in the respect, how does Islamic belief differ from the others?
Sure. Like you said, there's a lot of variety in religious beliefs in the world, and not just religious beliefs, but even a-religious beliefs. People that just decide that religion is not going to be a part of their life. They've decided that it's something pre-modern or superstitious, and they're beyond it. People essentially consider the purpose of their life revolving around their own needs and wants.
I see.
So essentially you have people that basically want to live in the moment, and this is very common in our times. So you have people that basically want to make the most use of their time, trying to get the most pleasure, enjoyment, entertainment, wealth, assets, name, fame, you name it. Trying to acquire that in as little time as possible. Kind of the philosophy that you only live once, so might as well live it out. Other religious philosophies, of course, have some kind of moral restrictions and place some kind of prohibitions on one's life. So there are certain things people can't eat or do or say or dress like, etc. So you have certain religious restrictions. But other than that, essentially the purpose for which they live is the same. In other words, okay, they have certain religious restrictions, but they also aspire towards material pursuits and fame and enjoyment and entertainment, all of those things. In contrast to these views, what sets Islam apart fundamentally is that it is a recognition that life itself is a gift that has been given to us by our Creator, our Master, and finding purpose in that life can never be separated from finding what is it that the Master wants from you. And actually at the heart of finding our purpose in Islam is the concept that we are slaves. I'm not even going to use the word servant, even though the word slave sounds very negative. We're slaves to that Master, that Creator. And being His slave is different from being a slave to anyone else. I know when we think of slavery, the images of being forced into doing something you don't want to do, your freedoms being taken away from you, all of these images are conjured up. And this is something relevant to the American context and other civilizations as well. But when we think about slavery to the Master, the Creator, one of the things that sets it apart is that this Master is extremely merciful. He's extremely patient and lenient with his subjects. And additionally, the slaves have the option to walk out of slavery at any point they want. In other words, this is not a coerced form of slavery, it's a voluntary form of slavery. And hence, in the very first chapter of the Quran, you have the Arabic phrase, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, which roughly translated is, it is only to you that we give ourselves willingly into worship and slavery. We enter ourselves into slavery to this Master. And just trying to wrap our heads around this question, then how is this tied to the purpose of life? Essentially, we make a commitment to this Master that we are going to make His will primary and our own secondary. And this is not just a matter of dietary or fashion restriction or in terms of how we spend our time in a day, but rather it's about outlook in life. So a famous declaration in the Quran is Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. Again, roughly translated, there is no doubt that my prayer and my sacrifice, which refers to my ritualistic sacrifice, and my life, my living and my death, all belong to Allah, the Master of all nations and all peoples. In other words, you've given yourself up in terms of your priorities. So now as a Muslim, as a slave of Allah, as a willing slave of Allah, I'm going to pick a career in life, a family in life. I'm going to do things with my life that will essentially be an attempt to please Him. And my own aspirations have now come under what He demands from me. And we actually believe that this is not a form of oppression, that this is actually the only real means to find happiness. So it's not just the means of finding one's purpose, but it's the only real means by which our hearts will finally be content and will find happiness.
Okay. So in other words, you're saying it's a slavery by will, if
Yeah.
I may understand you correctly.
Sure. Yes.
And it is not a contract that you sign and you get into slavery and you're breaking a contract and you're totally done. I mean,
Actually,
Okay.
interesting you bring that up. In Islamic creed, a contract was already signed before we were born.
okay.
So Muslims believe that all of us were created in the form of our souls. The
Okay.
Arabic term is ruh.
Hmm.
And we existed in the company of our Lord. And the Lord asks us, before He sends us down, He asks all of us collectively, before the earth was created, before all of this is in the 7th surah, He says, Alastu bi rabbikum, am I not your master? Am I not your Lord? And all of them, all of the souls, including ourselves, we replied, Bala. We said, of course, why not?
Mhm.
We bear witness to this truth.
Okay.
And now that soul was poured into the womb of our mothers before even we came out of our mothers.
Okay.
And that contract, that covenant, it's really called mithaq. The Arabic word mithaq refers to covenant.
Mhm.
That covenant has already been taken, but human beings forget.
Okay.
Revelation comes and reminds the soul of the covenant already taken.
Okay.
So when human beings with an open mind think about revelation and think about the purpose it's calling them to, their inner conscience agrees with it.
Okay.
And it's that inner conscience that's the essence of the human soul
Okay.
in Muslim creed.
So this purpose of life, we can still, as a people who believe in Islamic creed, they can still be living their life to the fullest based on the criterion once you get into this contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, again, an important consideration, the Quran talks about you being a slave no matter what.
Okay.
In other words, you're either a slave to your desires, your temptations, your addictions, your obsessions. You're a slave to them. And you can't even help yourself. Nowadays, it's very easy to find people that are enslaved to their addictions, be they drugs or alcohol, or be they even something as trivial as TV shows.
Okay.
You can't even help yourself. You have to watch that next episode, you know?
Okay.
And you're obsessed with it. You can't, it's beyond you almost.
Okay.
Right? So what Allah is saying is, if you enter into my slavery, I will set you free from all these other forms of slavery.
Okay.
In other words, in slavery to Allah will you finally find true freedom.
True freedom. Thank you.
One of the brothers in the Dawah group told me that, Imam, it is our goal to give every American a copy of the Quran.
The question is simple. Are we ready to support this noble effort? Share what we've been blessed with? Islam. We invite you to join and support 877Y Islam. Let's gain the pleasure of Allah by fulfilling our collective obligation to serve His deen.